All right, good morning, sir. Are you Byron Doherty?
Sir.
All right, sir, we're here on 4 cases, 2021 CF 14163, 14164, 14165, and 2021 MM 7696. In case number 14163, you were arrested for the charge of battery on a law enforcement officer. I reviewed the affidavit of arrest, and I do find probable cause. In 2021 CF 14164, you were arrested for battery on a law enforcement officer, a different law enforcement officer, and I do find probable cause for that charge after reviewing the affidavit. In case number 14165, you were charged with resisting an officer with violence. Again, after reviewing the affidavit, there is probable cause for that charge. Case number 2021 MM 7696, you were arrested for assault on a law enforcement officer, and again, the affidavit establishes probable cause for those offenses. Your bonds in those cases are going to be $2,500 in case number 14163, $2,500 in case number 14164, $1,000 in case number 14165, and $500 in case number 7696, the misdemeanor. You are out on your own recognizance in case number 2021 CF 11949, in case number 2021 CF 7668, and in case number 2021 CF 7669. In all of those cases, your release will be revoked and you'll be held on zero bond. I'm going to appoint the Office of the Public Defender in each of your cases provisionally to represent you. If you qualify for representation after you complete an affidavit of for indigency status, the court will appoint the public defender to represent you. Otherwise, you can hire private counsel. Is there anything else, counsel, that we need to address with Mr. Doherty?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, sir. Take care.
Go ahead. I don't have a paper, but go ahead, the officer will give it to you.
Good morning, sir. Are you Tarvis Williamson?
Correct.
Is that you? All right.
Correct.
Okay, good morning, sir. This is case number 2021 MM7700. Mr. Williamson, you were arrested for the charge of trespass on property after warning. I reviewed the affidavit of arrest, and I do find probable cause.
They just trespassed me because
Hey, don't say anything about the case.
Don't
just
talk.
trespassed me because I was
Don't talk about your case, okay?
I'm just
Don't
letting you
talk
know, he
about
wasn't
your
going to
case.
bring me to jail. He wanted to be an asshole.
We're being
That's why he brought me.
recorded, so you don't want to say anything about your case. I'm going to appoint the Office of the Public
You're gonna give
Defender
me a
to
pink slip
represent
and
you
let me go.
provisionally, okay? You're
Huh?
entitled to be represented by a lawyer. And if you
Is
wish
there
to
any
be
plea? Is there any
represented
plea
by
for
the
today?
public defender, you need to complete an affidavit. Your own recognizance in case number 2021 CF 4934. And I'm going to revoke your release in that case and order that you be held on zero bond. Okay? Thank you. The bond on the trespass is $500. Okay, thank you, Mr. Williamson. Good morning, sir. Are you Christian Montlouis?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good deal. Sir, I'm going to provisionally appoint the Office of the Public Defender to represent you. You're entitled to be represented by a lawyer, and if you qualify for appointment of the public defender after you complete an affidavit, the court will appoint that office to represent you unconditionally. Yes, state, you're standing?
Yes, Your Honor, the state request a high bond in this case with some conditions. With no contact with any minors under the age of 18 and not return to the scene of the incident.
All right. Mr. Thompson, are you waiving reading of the charges?
Yes, I will read charges, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. All right, sir, you can speak with Mr. Thompson or a public defender about the charge that you were arrested for. I'm going to set your bond at,
Your Honor, can I be heard as to bond?
sure, please.
It appears that client has zero criminal history in and out of state, no arrests. This appears to be a first arrest. I do recognize the severity of the charges, but Your Honor, I'm of the opinion that my client may suffer from some mental health defect, and I would just ask that he be screened for mental health pre-trial release, Your Honor, in this case. And if he does not qualify, a bond in the amount of $5,000.
All right, thank you.
Let me check on that, if he qualifies, according to the admin order, that's just why he didn't require,
Why he didn't qualify.
for pretrial release.
Okay, so mental health pretrial release, he might not qualify either. Okay. Do we need to recall the case, or will you be able to check right away? Okay, thank you. This, by the way, is case number 2021 CF 14171. Yes, ma'am. We can recall it, yes. All right, Mr. Montlouis, we'll recall your case in a moment, okay? All right, then we have Jose, let's see, now we're moving to the interpreter cases. Let me get Madam Interpreter on the line.
Good afternoon. This is Dalia Romero, Spanish interpreter on the line, already sworn in.
Good afternoon again, Ms. Romero. We have 3 Spanish interpreter cases for you, and then we have 1 Creole interpreter case. The first case is 2021 MM7707 Jose Luis Ortiz Berticia.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Mr. Ortiz Berticia, good morning.
Good morning.
Sir, you were arrested for the charge of battery domestic violence. I have reviewed the affidavit of arrest, and I do find probable cause. Do we have a witness here for this case?
No,
No,
All right. So do you reside in Puerto Rico?
sí, correcto.
yes, that is correct.
And do you live with your wife in Puerto Rico?
Es correcto.
That is correct.
If you are released on bond, do you intend to return to Puerto Rico?
Sí, por supuesto.
Yes, of course.
Do you have a place there to reside apart from your wife while this case is pending?
Actualmente estamos separados. Yo vivo en un apartamento que pertenece a la misma casa, pero fuera de la casa principal.
At the present time, we are separated. I live in an apartment that is attached to the house, but is a separate dwelling.
State, do you have any objection under the circumstances of this case to allowing Mr. Ortiz to reside in that attached apartment as long as there's no hostile contact?
Your Honor, no objection. I do want to inform the board and put on the record that the children were present during this incident.
Right. I see that. They were here apparently on holiday.
Sí, vine para un torneo de dominó que hubo.
Yes, I came for a domino tournament.
All right. Sir, as I said, there is probable cause. I am going to provisionally appoint the Office of the Public Defender to represent you. You are also entitled to be represented by a private attorney if you wish to hire one. If you qualify for representation by the Public Defender's Office, the court would appoint that office to represent you after you complete the required affidavit of your financial status. As I said, I do find probable cause in this matter. Under the circumstances of the case, I am going to grant a bond with a sum of $500 with the following conditions. You may not live in the same residence as your wife, the alleged victim. I will allow you to reside in the separate attached apartment. You must, however, have no hostile contact with your wife with regard to any relationship issues or child custody, visitation, or care issues. You may not possess any weapons or firearms. I will allow you to travel to Puerto Rico, and you will, of course, be required to return to Florida for any court appearances required for your case. Do you have any questions, sir?
Sí.
Don't talk about your case, okay? But you can ask me any other question.
No. No, es en cuanto a mis pertenencias, que todas están en el hotel. Supongo que deben estar en el hotel que fue donde quedaron y allí está toda la información de mi hijo que vive aquí en Kissimmee para poder gestionar lo de la fianza.
It's all of my belongings. I believe they were left at the hotel, and that's where I have all the information for my son that lives here in Kissimmee, so that I can work on the bond.
Is anyone at the hotel now?
No, entiendo que no. Entiendo que no.
No, I don't believe so. No.
So I can't help you with that. You may wish to contact the Public Defender's Office to see if they can assist you in contacting your son or contacting the hotel. I have appointed them to represent you provisionally.
Good.
Okay? Thank you, sir. I'm sorry? Provisionally, I did. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and run through all of the interpreter cases first. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Gracias a usted.
Thank you.
All right, our next case is 2021 MM 7705, Lady Equinda Aramillo. Good morning, ma'am. You were arrested for petty theft. I reviewed the affidavit of arrest and I do find probable cause. I'm setting bond at the amount of $1,000. The conditions of bond are that you may not return to the location of the alleged offense, and you may not have contact with any employees of the listed victim. I will provisionally appoint the Office of the Public Defender to represent you. You can hire a private attorney, or if you qualify after completing the required affidavit, the court would appoint the Public Defender's Office to represent you unconditionally. All right, anything further, counsel?
No.
Thank you, ma'am.
¿Puedo hacer una pregunta?
I do have one question.
Don't talk about your case, but tell me your question.
Ok. Lo que pasa es que yo no vivo acá en la Florida. Yo soy residente de Los Ángeles y en este momento no tengo absolutamente nadie a quien llamar porque mi teléfono en el momento de la captura me lo retuvieron y no he podido tener acceso ni ninguna comunicación con ningún familiar ni amigo para que me puedan ayudar a pagar la fianza.
I am a resident of LA and I don't have anyone here to call. At the time I was detained, they took my phone and I don't have access to call any friends or family to contact them for them to pay my bond.
All right, so I have provisionally appointed the Office of the Public Defender to represent you. So you can contact that office. Mr. Thompson here is a representative of that office, so he can make a note for someone to reach out to you if you don't contact them first. He can help you reach whomever you need to reach. Okay? So you have a bond. You have, at least for now, a temporary attorney. And there's nothing more I can do at this point. Okay, thank you, ma'am. All right, is this Mr. Acevedo Rosado? Mr. Thompson, you want to confer with this gentleman about potentially entering a plea? Are you able to, given the language?
Yeah,
Ms. Romero, how would it work for Mr. Thompson to be able to confer with his client? Are you able to assist in that translation at all?
Briefly, yes, Your Honor. We usually don't do pleas at IAs because normally they don't have a way to go over the plea form
Right.
with the defendant. But if the attorney wants to consult with him, we can do that.
I can ask him some questions as well. This is a municipal ordinance case, and this is the only reason I'm agreeing to take a plea on this one.
Your Honor, because of the language barrier, and since I cannot confer with my client privately, do you have any objections to an ROR?
I don't. So that's what we'll do. All right, so, the danger with an ROR is that if he fails to appear, he may end up back here, but, all right. This is 2021 MO 1241 Raymond Noel Acevedo Rosado. Sir, you were charged with a violation of, or you were not charged, you were arrested on the charge of disorderly conduct in violation of Orlando ordinance. Oh, Madam Interpreter?
Yes, Your Honor. I don't know. I guess he's saying that he cannot hear the interpreter.
Yeah.
Bien bajito. Low. Español. Español. Sí.
Okay, Your Honor. I told him what he was being charged with.
Okay, thank you. So disorderly conduct, violation of a municipal ordinance. I'm going to provisionally appoint the Public Defender's Office to represent you, sir. You will need to complete an affidavit to have that office officially appointed to represent you throughout the case. I am going to reduce your bond to release you on your own recognizance. That means you must contact your attorney and stay in touch with them so your case can be resolved so that you do not end up back in jail on a failure to appear warrant. Do you understand?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right, and as I think I said, I do find probable cause after reviewing the arrest affidavit. I've personally appointed the public defender, established ROR. Anything else, Mr. Thompson?
No, Your Honor.
Thank you, sir. All right, and I believe, Ms. Romero, that is it. I hope you continue to recover.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'm so sorry. This is horrible.
No, I'm
trying.
sure it is, and I hope you get well soon.
Thank you so much. You have a great day.
All right, let's recall Christian Lawrence. Oh, we have a Creel. Okay, let's go ahead and do the Creel, which is All right, this is case number 2021 MM7698. Do we have the Creole interpreter on the line?
I am on the line.
Okay, excellent. Forgive me for mispronouncing the name, but this is Lucien Dorviene. Dorviene. Sir, tell me how to pronounce your name correctly.
Ok, ça c'est interprète créole là, il dit est-ce que les Lucien Dorvini et dit comment il dit non? Lucien Dorviel.
All right, Dorvienne. Mr. Dorvienne, you were charged or arrested for the charge of battery domestic violence.
Ok, monsieur. Alors, yo chargé ou parce que gen violence domestique qui fait.
I have reviewed the affidavit of arrest, and I do find probable cause.
Li même li te révisé affidavit qui te fait pour arrêter yo te arrêté ya et puis li wè gen cause qui la donne.
You are entitled to be represented by a lawyer, and you qualify for representation by the Public Defender's Office. Would you like for me to appoint that office to represent you?
Ou gen droit pour capable gen un avocat représenter ou et puis tout gen droit tout pour gen moun qui travaille pour office défense publique là représenter ou est-ce que ou même ou ta remen pour le bail pour le bon droit pour moun sa capable représenter ou? Yes.
All right, I will appoint the Office of the Public Defender to represent you.
Ok, alors la fait la bail droit pour office défense publique là capable représenter ou?
You do qualify for pretrial release, non-monetary pretrial release.
Avec tout ou qualifié pour capable gen un pré-tribunal côté que yo lage ou bien yo relâché ou?
I am going to grant pretrial release with the following conditions. You may have no contact with the alleged victim.
Ok, li même li pral ba subvention, pral ba permission qui ça pour faire si ou relâché ou et condition c'est que ou pas supposé en contact avec victime là.
Any communication regarding your children must be through a third party.
Quelle que soit communication qui ou tagé pour faire à propos de ti moun yo, alors c'est pas en troisième personne pour ça fait.
You must maintain a separate residence from the alleged victim.
Et côté que ou même ou supposé rester dans l'autre caille, dans l'autre côté pour compte.
You may return to the residence one time with a law enforcement officer to obtain your personal items.
Ou gen droit pour retourner dans même caille côté moun nan ya ti moun yo on seul grain fois avec un officier ou bien avec un police pour capable al prendre affaire tout affaire que ou te gen l'autre bois.
And you may not possess any weapons or firearms.
Et côté que ou même ou pas ta supposé gagner kembe aucun couteau ou bien aucun zam nan men.
All right. Thank you, sir.
OK, merci monsieur.
Merci. Sign up.
All All right, so now we're recalling Mr. Montlouis, 2021
Yes.
CF 14171. That's all we have, Madam Interpreter. Thank you so much.
Okay, you're welcome. Thank you for using our service. Bye-bye.
So again, this is 2021 CF 14171. I believe you said, Officer, that he does not qualify?
Yes, he can qualify for mental health PTR.
He can.
Yes. If he doesn't qualify, can you set a bond?
Yes, ma'am, I can do that. So I'm going to grant release on mental health pretrial release conditions or in the amount of $10,000 if he doesn't qualify for the mental health pretrial release. Conditions are going to be no return to the location of the alleged offense, no contact with the alleged victim, no unsupervised contact with any individual under 18 years of age, and he may not be alone at any park or other place where children and youth frequent. And I believe I previously appointed the public defender provisionally. Thank you, sir. All right, our next case is Mr. Marcus Brown. Good morning, sir. This is 2021 CF 14170. Mr. Brown, you were arrested for the charges of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon and battery dating violence. Reviewed the affidavit of arrest, and I do find probable cause. It appears, sir, that you also have an active warrant out of the state of Indiana.
Your Honor, there's a victim.
Okay. All right. Before I get to the victim or the alleged victim, sir, you do qualify for representation by the Public Defender's Office, and you are entitled to be represented by an attorney. Would you like for me to appoint the Public Defender's Office to represent you?
Yes.
All right, so I will appoint the Public Defender's Office to represent you. And sir, would you raise your right hand to be sworn? You solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
All right. Would you state your name, please?
Adalberto Gonzalez.
All right, and could you spell that for the court reporter?
Yes, as A as in Apple, D as in David, A-L, B as in boy, E-R-T-O. Gonzalez, Gonzalez.
All right, thank you, sir. State you may inquire.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Gonzalez, what is your relationship to the defendant?
He is my domestic partner. We've been together for more than 13 years.
Mr. Gonzalez, are you afraid of the defendant?
At this point, no, I was concerned yesterday because of the act that happened.
Has this happened before?
During the 13 years, it has happened like twice, I want to say.
Do you believe there were drugs or alcohol involved in this incident?
No, I came here, but I don't know if you have my statements. My statement says that I wish to actually not press charges or not be a witness, but I wanted to come here because I do believe sincerely that Mr. Marcus Brown does not see reality as reality, and he thinks that the laws are always in favor of him, and it's just going back to what he was mentioning, the affidavit from Indiana. I was the one who actually helped them through that, and there is no such warrant only in the state of Indiana. The state of Florida and the state of Indiana did not extradite because they're not going to extradite in an administration charge because of failure to appear to his parole officer. It's too much expensive. So that was something that got settled here in Orange County, and they released them. So that has nothing to do with with what's going on.
Mr. Gonzalez, are you willing to call 911 if anything were to occur in the future?
Excuse me?
Are you willing to call 911 if anything similar were to occur in the future?
Of course I would, for anybody.
Do you want to have contact with the defendant?
Well, the dependent right now is in indigency, so he's actually trying to get a job. And I'm sure that, because of his twice acts, that he actually, I hope that he has actually, mature enough to actually knows that the laws are the laws and not his laws. And I just want to mention also that not too long, there was an accident, not with me, his automobile. And the way he thought was the person was jaywalking, even though the person is in critical condition. He is legal, has insurance and everything. But the way of thinking, I just believe that he needs to get some sort of, help or anger management.
I have nothing further, Your Honor.
Mr. Thompson, do you have any questions?
No questions, Your Honor.
Mr. Gonzalez, are you asking that Mr. Brown be allowed to come back to your residence, or are you wanting to have a separate residence?
He could come back. He just needs to. I don't know if you have some sort of a place where he could receive help for mental or anger management. But he needs to understand that the way he thinks, I don't know if he's bipolar. I cannot diagnose. I'm not a medical doctor.
Well, I have no authority to do that at this point. So
Exactly. You're the court. You
the
don't.
question is whether you would like him to return and whether you feel safe with him returning to the residence, or whether you wish that he not return.
I think he learned his lesson that he cannot actually do or think the way he thinks. Like I said, I put in my statement, I said, no, I'm not pressing charges, and no, I didn't want to be here, but because they called me last night after I was in bed, I felt obligated to be here and actually comply with the court.
Okay, thank you, sir. All right, based on the testimony, I'm going to grant bond, in this case, in the amount of $2,500. You may have no hostile contact with Mr. Gonzalez. You may return to the residence. I would not have allowed that but for the testimony from Mr. Gonzalez. But your contact must be non-hostile. If you feel yourself becoming angry or whatever, you must remove yourself from the situation, because hostile contact would be a violation of the terms of your release, and you will be rearrested and held without bond.
Your
Right.
Honor, can I say something
No,
else?
no, sir, because this is first appearance and we
Okay,
have many cases, so.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, you may not possess any weapons or firearms. And again, you may have no hostile contact with Mr. Gonzalez. All right, let's do it this way. $2,000 on count one and $500 on count two. Thank you. All right, anything further from the state?
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Anything from the defense?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. Okay, and which case is this? Is this Mr. Bruder? Okay. Okay. Video conference?
Welcome to an Econo meeting. You are entering the meeting now.
Which one? Oh, I'm sorry. Are you Mr. Bruder?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. This is Robert John Bruder, case number 2021 CF 14178. Mr. Bruder, you're entitled to be represented by a lawyer. You do not qualify, though, for representation by the Public Defender's Office, so you'll need to hire private counsel if you wish to be represented by a lawyer. Sir, you were arrested for the charge of cruelty toward a child, aggravated child abuse, and in count 2, battery. I reviewed the arrest affidavit. I do find probable cause. Do we have any witness? Yes, we have a witness. All right, ma'am, raise your right hand to be sworn. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
You are the only participant.
Hold on just a second. Do you?
Yes, Honor.
All right, I am going to terminate that call so we're not interrupted. All right, ma'am, state your name and spell it, please.
Anna Bruder, ANABRUDER.
Thank you, ma'am. State you may inquire.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Bruder, what's your relationship to the defendant?
I'm his wife.
Are you afraid of the defendant?
No,
Has this happened before?
no, it never happened before, and that's why I called the police, because I would never allow it to happen. And it was first and only time. However, he changed his mind when he drinks, never physically, but very angry and always upset.
Are you willing to call 911 if anything similar were to happen in the future?
Definitely.
Do you believe that drugs or alcohol were involved in this incident?
Alcohol.
Do you want to have contact with the defendant?
Yes.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Mr. Thompson?
No questions, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. All right, Mr. Bruder, as I said, you're entitled to be represented by a lawyer. You don't qualify for representation by the Public Defender's Office. So if you wish to be represented, you will need to hire a lawyer. And I did find probable cause. The charges are quite serious. They do seem consistent with Mrs. Bruder's testimony to have been caused by the alcohol. Based on the testimony I'm hearing, I am going to allow you to return to the residence. You may have no hostile contact. All right, and I am going to require that you attend weekly Alcoholics Anonymous meetings as a condition of your bond.
Yes, sir.
And you must provide proof of your attendance to the bond surety. Your bond is going to be set in the amount of $5,000 is adequate. So we'll do $4,000 on count 1 and $1,000 on count 2. You may not possess any weapons or firearms. And Mrs. Bruder, I'm going to suggest that if you are interested, there may be an organization called Alateen that might be helpful for your daughter, and you may find Al-Anon helpful for yourself.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. Have a wonderful rest of your afternoon.
Thank you. All right, good afternoon, sir. Are you Nathaniel Graham?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you. This is 2021 CF 13682. Mr. Graham, you do qualify for representation by the public defender. You are entitled to be represented by a lawyer. Would you like for me to appoint that office to represent you?
Yes, sir.
All right. In In this case, sir, you were charged with aggravated child abuse, domestic violence. A judge did find probable cause, and you are arrested on that warrant. I'm going to set your bond in the amount of $5,000. You may not have contact with the alleged victim, and you may not possess any weapons or firearms. You are out on bond in case number 2021 CF 5921, and in that case, your bond will be revoked and set at zero. All right, and I did appoint the Office of the Public Defender to represent you. Okay, thank you, sir. Mr. Thompson, are you okay? Mr. Thompson, are you okay?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. All right. Is this the defendant? Okay, let's go ahead and take care of this person. Do you have the paperwork for the? Okay. Is this Mr. Malpica?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Let's take care of Mr. Malpica first, then I will call Mr. Park's case. All right, sir. You're entitled to be represented by a lawyer. You do not qualify for representation by the Public Defender's Office, so you'll need to hire private counsel if you wish to be represented. You were arrested for the charges of aggravated assault with a firearm and resisting an officer without violence. I reviewed the affidavit of arrest, and I do find probable cause. Right, we don't have anyone here to testify in this case. All right, based on the circumstances, I am going to set the bond on count one at $9,000, the bond on count two at $1,000, for a total of $10,000. The conditions of bond are that you must not possess any weapons or firearms. You must surrender all firearms to law enforcement. You may not have contact with the alleged victim. Any communications regarding child care, child custody, child visitation must be facilitated through a third party. And no contact means, of course, you can't be at the alleged victim's residence. State, are there any other conditions you would request in this case?
No, Your Honor.
Defense, anything further?
No, Your Honor.
All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Our next case is going to be Mr. Parks.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Is that Mr. Parks? Okay.
Welcome to an Econo meeting. You are entering the meeting now.
Parks.
Is the attorney there? Did the attorney tell you they were ready? Do we have anyone on the line? Counsel on the line, last call. All right, Mr. Parks? All right, you can try. Do I need to hit teleconference? Counsel, are you on?
I am, Your Honor, and I'm sorry. I could hear you and see you, but for some reason you could not hear or see me.
Yeah, I could not, there was no indication you were there, except the British lady didn't speak to us. All right, announce your appearance, please.
David Bigney on behalf of Carner Parks.
All right, good morning, or good afternoon, Mr. Bigney.
Good afternoon.
Mr. Parks, you were arrested on an out-of-county warrant from Lake County, and there is no bond. Mr. Bigney, is there anything that you need to place on the record?
Yes, Your Honor. I understand this is an out-of-county warrant, and I understand because of that your hands may be tied a little bit. However, Mr. Parks had provided me and apparently did provide the other county with a letter from the Lake America Family Physicians indicating that he was being treated for COVID and that he would not be able to be in public essentially until November 1st. Now, obviously, this letter did not get to the right person on time, but this letter was written prior, it's my understanding, prior to that warrant being issued. The letter was written on October 22nd. So I'm not sure if there's anything you can do because it's an out-of-county warrant, but if there's anything you can do based on my representations, I'm looking at the letter right now. I can email it to the court. That would be great if that could happen. If not, then certainly I understand because of the limitations being out of county.
Yeah, it's set at zero bond, and let me look again at the paperwork.
And if the court can set a bond, we'd ask that it be traditionally it's double the original bond.
Well, what has been happening is the court, in cases where the accused doesn't have private counsel, the public defender was appointed, and then the court has been reaching out to the judge in the other county to see if the judge would allow a bond to be set. So what I think would be the appropriate thing to do, Mr. Bigney, would be for you to contact Judge Bain or Judge Gibson's judicial assistant tomorrow and ask them to reach out to the judge in Lake County, and then they would set a bond or reinstate the bond or do whatever if that judge agreed.
Okay.
That's my understanding of what's been happening in this situation.
Well, I appreciate that. I'll do that for sure.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Bigney.
Thank you. Thank you for allowing me to call in.
Thank you, Mr. Parks. Zero bond, yeah, I have no jurisdiction to change that at this point. Jonquil Zachary, is that you, ma'am? Yes. All right. You are arrested for aggravated battery with a weapon, domestic violence. I reviewed the.
I do have a probable cause challenge for this case.
Okay. Go ahead.
Per the arrest affidavit, the alleged victim stated that she was drinking and cut her finger, but she never said that my client was the one who actually cut her. My client told law enforcement officer that the alleged victim did not state that my client cut her, and there was no tangible evidence to suggest that my client was the person who actually committed the cutting of the alleged victim. The police officer then asked for the 911 call so he could find out what happened. And in the 911 call, the alleged victim said that there was an argument and my client was mad and her finger was cut, but she never said that my client actually cut her, Your Honor. I would ask you not to find probable cause in this matter, and if the state asks for their 24-hour hold to get more probable cause, I will withdraw my argument and ask that because of the argument I just made that you just grant straight pretrial release, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. State?
Your Honor, the state at this time asked for a 24-hour visit.
All right, and we have a witness. Ma'am, would you raise your right hand to be sworn? Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, tell me your name and please spell it for the digital court reporter.
My name is Kiaka Childers. The spelling would be K as in kite, E as in elephant, O as in octopus, K as in kite, A as in apple. My last name is Childers, C as in cat, H as in hat, I as in igloo, L as in Larry, D as in dog, E as in elephant, R as in rat, and S as in Sam.
All right, thank you, ma'am. You may inquire, State.
What is your relationship to the defendant? I'm sorry.
She's my partner. My state partner. She's my partner. You said my relationship?
Yes.
Yeah.
Are you afraid of the defendant?
No.
Has this happened before?
No.
Are you willing to call 911 if anything similar were to occur in the future?
Call for ambulance, yes.
I'm sorry?
Yes, call for ambulance.
Were drugs or alcohol involved in this incident?
I took a shot out of a Remy bottle.
Do you want to have contact with the defendant?
Yes.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Do you have any questions, Mr.
Yes,
Thompson?
ma'am, you're the alleged victim in this case, am I correct?
Sure.
Did my client cut your finger?
No.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Ma'am, if I allow Ms. Zachary to have contact with you and to return to the residence that you share, will you feel safe?
Yes.
And I believe you already answered the question the state asked, but would you call for assistance if you felt you needed assistance?
Yes.
All right. I think, Mr. Thompson, under the circumstances, the most prudent thing to do is for you to withdraw your argument so that I can grant the pretrial release. Otherwise, Ms. Zachary is going to be spending another night in jail if
Yes,
we reset this.
I will withdraw my argument, Your Honor.
All right, so based on the withdrawal, I'm going to find probable cause. I'm going to grant pretrial release. That's non-monetary pretrial release. You may return to the residence, ma'am. You may not have any hostile contact with the alleged victim. You may not possess any weapons or firearms. Okay, do you have any questions? Okay. All right, thank you. All right, is your name DeLon Braithwaite? Yes. Is it Braithwaite or Braithwaite?
Braithwaite.
Braithwaite, okay, I apologize for mispronouncing that. Mr. Braithwaite, you were charged with battery, domestic violence, and unlawful discharge of a firearm. I have reviewed the public defender application that you completed, and you do qualify for representation by that office. You're entitled to be represented by a lawyer. Would you like for me to appoint the public defender to represent you? Okay, so I'll appoint the public defender's office to represent you, sir. I reviewed the affidavit of arrest, and I do find probable cause for the charges on which you were arrested. You do qualify for direct pretrial release, so I will grant that. This case is, by the way, 2021 MM 7693. Oh, grant direct PTR. You may not possess any weapons or firearms. You're going to have to surrender all firearms that you have to law enforcement. You may not have contact with the alleged victim, and all issues regarding child care, child custody, child visitation will have to be coordinated through a third party, because you cannot have contact directly or indirectly with the alleged victim other than regarding child care issues through a third party. Okay? All right. Are you Ms. Hall?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Hall. This is case number 2021 MM7709. Ms. Hall, you were arrested for battery, dating violence. You're entitled to be represented by a lawyer. You do not qualify for representation by the Public Defender's Office, so you'll have to hire private counsel if you wish to hire a lawyer or be represented by a lawyer. I reviewed the affidavit of arrest, and I do find probable cause for the charge on which you were arrested. You do qualify for direct pretrial release. That's non-monetary. So I am going to grant a direct pretrial release. You'll have to report, and of course, you'll have to return to Florida for any necessary court appearances. We don't have a witness here today. Do you share a residence with the alleged victim in New Jersey?
No, Your Honor.
All right. So I'm going to order that you have no contact with the alleged victim while this case is pending. You'll be advised as to all of the ramifications of no contact, and you'll be advised as to what the reporting requirements are for pretrial release. Okay? I believe that takes care of everything. Thank you.
May I ask what pretrial release
Yes, don't talk about your case, but what's your question?
Huh?
What's your question?
What is pretrial release?
So they will be discussing that with you before you are released from jail, but it's a form of non-monetary release from custody.
Okay.
There are reporting requirements, though, so they'll explain all that to you before you're released from jail.
Okay, thank you, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Victor Martinez Cruz, is that you, sir?
Yes, sir.
All right. Sir, you were arrested for resisting an officer without violence. This is case number 2021 MM 7694 and 7695. You were also arrested for the charge of battery domestic violence. I have reviewed the affidavits for arrest in each of the cases, and I do find probable cause. You are entitled to be represented by a lawyer, and you do qualify for representation by the Public Defender's Office. Would you like for me to appoint that office to represent you?
Yes, sir.
All right, so I'll appoint that office in each of your cases. We don't have a witness here. Sir, if I order that you not return to the location of the offenses, do you have a place to reside?
Yes, sir. I do.
Okay, and where would that be?
I would be with a friend. He got my clothes right now.
Okay. Do you know the address of that friend?
Not sure, but it's in the west side. It's in Pine Hills.
Okay. And what's your friend's name?
It's Philip.
Philip?
Yeah, Philip.
All right. So you do not qualify for pretrial release. So your bond on case number 7695 is going to be $500. I'm going to set your bond on case number 7694 at $2,500. You may not return to the location of the alleged offenses. You must maintain a separate residence from the alleged victim in case number 7694. You may, if you have personal items there, you may return with law enforcement only one time to obtain your belongings. You may not possess any weapons or firearms, and you may not have any contact with the alleged victim. Thank you, sir. Dominic Melendez Davis. All right. Are you Mr. Melendez Davis? All right, good morning, or good afternoon, sir. Sir, you were arrested for battery, and you are entitled to be represented by a lawyer, and you do qualify for representation by the Public Defender's Office. Would you like for me to appoint the Public Defender's Office to represent you?
Yeah, police defender, yeah, anyone.
Yes, okay, so I'll appoint the Public Defender's Office to represent you. There is probable cause for the arrest. I am going to grant bond in this case. Going to set bond at the amount of $2,500. Conditions of bond are that you may not have any contact with the alleged victim. You must maintain a separate residence. You may return one time with law enforcement to obtain any personal belongings. You may not possess any weapons or firearms. You're out on release on bond in case number 2021 CF 970. Your bond in that case is going to be revoked, and you will be held on zero bond in that case. Okay?
Excuse me, Your Honor.
Yes.
Did Your Honor request no contact with the victim in this case?
I think I said no contact.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Yeah, separate residence, one-time return, and so forth. Okay, thank you, sir. Are you Mr. Rawlings?
Sir.
All right, Mr. Rawlings. This is case number 2021 MM7703. Mr. Rawlings, you were arrested for battery, domestic violence. I don't see a witness here for the case. I'm going to provisionally appoint the Office of the Public Defender to represent you. You're entitled to be represented by a lawyer, and if you wish to be represented by the Public Defender's Office, the court will appoint them if you qualify after you complete the required affidavit, okay? You can also hire an attorney. There is probable cause for the charge. I'm going to set your bond at $500. No, you do qualify for pretrial release. I'm going to grant direct pretrial release, which is a non-monetary release that is supervised. They'll explain that to you. But you must maintain a separate residence from the alleged victim. You can return one time with law enforcement to obtain personal belongings. You may not have any contact with the alleged victim, and you may not possess any weapons or firearms. Thanks, sir. All right, Luis Orlando Rodriguez, is that you, sir? Yes. Okay, sir, this is 2021 MM 7710. I've reviewed the affidavit in this case, and there is no probable cause because of the dates. The wrong date is alleged throughout. The date that is used would be an impossibility.
Your Honor, at this time, the state requests a 24-hour reset.
All right, so I will reset this for a determination of probable cause. Sir, you're entitled to be represented by a lawyer in this case. You can hire a private attorney, or if you qualify, the court will appoint the Office of the Public Defender to represent you after you complete the required affidavit. For today's purposes and for the purposes of tomorrow, I'm going to, and until a determination is made as to whether you qualify for representation by the public defender, I'm going to provisionally appoint that office to represent you. We do have a witness present, so I'm going to go ahead and take a bit of testimony, even though it won't.
I'm sorry, Your Honor, could we confirm the time of the incident? Was this at 12 or after 12 midnight?
Well, 2310 hours would be 11:10 p.m. And there's another reference to 2300 hours, which would be 11 p.m.
Okay, yeah, I see that, Your Honor. Yes.
It's a typographical error, I believe, but I can't make rulings based on what I believe.
Understood, Your Honor.
All right. Would you raise your right hand to be sworn? Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Okay. State your name and spell it for the digital court reporter, please.
Samantha Torres, SAMANTHATORRES.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Torres. State you may inquire.
Thank you, Your Honor. Can you please state your relationship to the defendant?
I'm his wife.
Are you afraid of the defendant?
No,
Has this happened before?
no, not like this. This was more like a hustle stuff. It's just got the screaming went more. It was more yelling and screaming.
Are you willing to call 911 if anything similar were to happen in the future?
If it goes too violent, I will say so, yes.
Do you believe that there were drugs or alcohol involved in this incident?
No,
Do you want to have contact with the defendant?
I want him back home.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
No questions, Your Honor.
All right. Thank you. If you all can make sure the record reflects for the judge tomorrow that the alleged victim requests no hostile contact and requests that Mr. Rodriguez be allowed to return to the home subject to the no hostile contact. We are resetting the case for another hearing tomorrow morning for a determination of probable cause. Okay. Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
All right, Stephanie Jackson will be our next one. Okay.
Defense will waive her appearance.
All right, thank you. All right, so Ms. Jackson was arrested on a bond, or not a bond, on a warrant for failure to appear. The bond in that case is set at $10,000. And she is out on release on our own recognizance in case number 2021 CF 7741. And so that release will be revoked and she will be held in that case on zero bond. Yes. 2021 CF 6161. Thank you. Yes. Well, that was the failure to appear case. Possession of drug paraphernalia is 2021 MM 7699. In that case, Ms. Jackson was arrested for possession of drug paraphernalia. There is probable cause. Her bond will be set at $500. And the Public Defender's Office will be provisionally appointed to represent her in that case. And are you Mr. Kirkham? All right. Garfield Lee Kirkham. Is it Kirkham?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Mr. Kirkham, you were arrested for aggravated battery with a weapon. You're entitled to be represented by a lawyer. You do qualify for representation by the Public Defender's Office. Would you like for me to appoint that office to represent you?
Yes, sir.
All right, so I will appoint that office to represent you. I've reviewed the affidavit, and you do, there is probable cause for the arrest. Mr. Thompson, do you wish to be heard with regard to terms of release? He does not, unfortunately, qualify for pretrial release.
He does not qualify.
Does not qualify.
Can I ask why he does not qualify? Is it because of the charges?
He has, well, I don't know. He has a past.
Community ties was not verified. Also, he did not want to answer any probing questions. So the attorney was trying to ask questions to talk with him to try to qualify.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Your Honor, I would ask that he be re-screened for pretrial release. I informed my client to answer their questions, just not talk about the cases, the facts of the case. And if he does not qualify for pretrial release for some reason, I would just ask you to set a bond in the amount of $1,500. I do have some issues with the arrest affidavit. However, I think they will be better positioned in the trial division.
Okay. Maybe, I thought there was probable cause based on what I read. The challenge is residence for Mr. Kirkham.
I was homeless, Your Honor. It took place in a homeless shelter. I was homeless, Your Honor. I just moved up here to situate things in my life because my boyfriend was murdered, and it happened in a homeless shelter. They was harassing me because I'm transgendered. I was being harassed for no reason, Your Honor.
Do you have a preferred pronoun?
I prefer she, if you don't mind, Your Honor.
Okay, I don't mind at all. I'm sorry I didn't ask you in the beginning. All right. You prefer Ms. Kirkham?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Ms. Kirkham, do you know if they are going to allow you back at the homeless shelter after this incident?
That I do not know, Your Honor, but if my public defender or if someone could, they can find me a homeless shelter to go to or something of that nature, Your Honor, or a group home or something like that. They're important into the directions of getting my own place of residency because it was all set up at that homeless shelter. They did not want me there because I was trans. I was not talking to anyone there. I was staying to myself. I look at TV on my phone.
I would advise my client to just call us so we could help you with the issue. But right now, we're being recorded, so we don't want to.
Oh, yes, sir. So
right.
what this number here is referring to?
407, that's our office number, 407-836-4800.
All right, so here's what I'm going to do.
Yes, sir.
I am going to Well, I've appointed the Public Defender's Office, so hopefully their social services folks can assist you with finding a place to live. I'm going to order that you not return to the location of the offense that's
But I have to go there to
alleged.
get my clothes, Your Honor. They told me to come, they did tell me to come back there to get my clothes because they put them in storage, and they did say I could come back there to get my belongings.
Okay, all right, so I'll allow you to return one time to get your belongings, but otherwise you can't return to that location. You can't possess any weapons or firearms. You can't have any contact with the alleged victim. I am going to order that you be released on direct PTR if you qualify. If you don't qualify, I'm going to set bond in the amount of $1,000. Mr. Thompson, is there anything else?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Kirkham. Yes. I don't know, well, why don't we do that? That's probably the safest thing to do. So one time with law enforcement. So arrange with law enforcement to go back and get your things whenever you get released, okay?
When would I be released, Your Honor?
Well, it depends on whether you qualify for pretrial release after they reevaluate you.
Homeless for pretrial release. I don't have an address besides I'm homeless, Your Honor. I just moved up here because my boyfriend was murdered in Dade County, so I moved up here because I have relatives that stay in Palm Bay and Cocoa Beach, Florida, and I moved up here, so I don't know if I will qualify because I don't have an address to get them, Your Honor.
Well, then you have the bond that I set, which is a fairly low bond,
Okay.
and your relatives may be able to assist you with that, okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome, Your Honor.
All right, James Raymond, is that you, sir?
No, sir.
He refused.
Oh, Mr.,
The
okay.
defense to waive his appearance.
All right, so, Mr. Raymond was arrested for aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. He does not qualify for pretrial release, and this is 2021 CF 14172. I do find probable cause. Based on my review of the affidavit, I will provisionally appoint the Office of the Public Defender to represent Mr. Raymond. His bond is going to be set at $10,000. He may not return to 64 North Nightclub, may not have contact with the alleged victims, may not possess any weapons or firearms. Thank you. And then Jesus Rivera,
Sir, that is me.
that you? Okay,
Hello,
excellent.
Your Honor.
Good afternoon. All right, Mr. Rivera, you were arrested on a warrant for failure to appear, and the judge in that case set a bond for you in the amount of in the amount of $5,000. This is case number 2021 CF 8416. Sir, are you represented by the public defender?
No.
All right, so I will provisionally appoint the public defender's office to represent you. Do you have a private lawyer? No? Okay, so I'll provisionally appoint the office of the public defender to represent you. If you think you would qualify, you can complete an affidavit and the court would appoint them unconditionally to represent you at that time, okay? All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Are you Harrison Lazada? Yes. Okay, good afternoon, sir. Sir, you are entitled to be represented by a lawyer and you do qualify for representation by the Public Defender's Office. Would you like for me to appoint that office to represent you? I'm sorry?
Yes, public defender.
Okay, so I'll appoint the Public Defender to represent you. You were arrested on a warrant, and there is probable cause in that warrant.
Can I ask what the probable cause was?
You would have to ask the judge, Judge Calderon, who made that determination. Okay? Because you were arrested on that warrant that Judge Calderon issued. All right, the bond that has been, well, there has not been a bond set. All right, so.
Will I get a bond?
Yes, there will be a bond. We have to address that. All right, so I have appointed the public defender to represent you. The conditions of the bond are going to be as established by Judge Calderon, which are no contact with the alleged victim, no possession of any weapons or firearms, and abide by all terms of the existing injunction. Your bond is going to be in the amount of $5,000, okay, subject to all of the terms I just listed. All right, thank you, sir. Oh, he does? Hold on. Hold on just a second. So the open case is 2021 MM3113. Not that one. Oh, 2020 CF 2916. What? So it's an open case, but a warrant hasn't been served or a KPS hasn't been served? What's?
Just like the other case here in Orange County.
Right?
But due to he violated by the other case, that case will be.
It doesn't indicate whether what he's at.
He's out for scheme to defraud.
Right, no, I see the charge, but it doesn't say whether it's ROR or bond or anything. It just says open, which would, yeah, if you could look into it.
But it says that he's out on bond.
Okay, that wasn't marked here, so that's why I do see down at the bottom a reference, but in the middle, it doesn't say bond. All right, so in 2020 CF 2916, the bond will be revoked. And you'll be held on zero bond in that case. All right? Okay, thank you. Thank you all for catching that. 2021 CT 7235, Clifford Carl Bieberstein. Is that how you pronounce your name, sir?
Yes, sir.
All right, Mr. Bieberstein, looking through the paperwork now. So you are entitled to be represented by a lawyer, and you do qualify for representation by the Public Defender's Office. Would you like for me to appoint that office to represent you?
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I will appoint that office to represent you. You were arrested for driving with a suspended or revoked driver's license. This is a subsequent offense. There is probable cause, and your bond is going to be set at the amount of $500 in this case. You may not drive without a license, so that will be a condition of your release in this case. In case number 2021 CT 7235, you were out on bond in a, no, let's see, that's 2021 MM 7379 is the case number that you're out on bond. Bond in that case will be revoked and you'll be held on zero bond. Okay, thank you, sir. Martinez, David Martinez?
Sir.
All right, good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Sir, you were arrested on a failure to appear warrant out of Lake County, I believe. Well, wait, let me look.
Yeah.
Let's see. You were arrested on a warrant for failure to appear out of Orange County. There is a hold for you out of Lake County as well.
Okay.
You do qualify for representation by the Public Defender's Office, and you are entitled to be represented by a lawyer. Do you want me to appoint the Public Defender's Office to represent you?
Yes, sir.
All right, so I will do that. In this case, sir, your bond for the failure to appear warrant is $2,000.
Okay.
Okay? And the paperwork says that there is a hold for Lake County. So I've told you about your bond, about the reason for your arrest, and I've appointed the public defender. Okay? Thank you.
I have a question. Am I able to bond out once do I get transferred, I mean?
I don't know what will happen because that's not something in my jurisdiction to decide. But if you bond out, you might be released, you might be transferred to Lake. I don't know.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. Then do we have Mr. Hildebrand? Are you Mr. Hildebrand? No? Joshua Hildebrand is the name. I'm sorry?
2102-5395.
Joshua?
Yes. All right. Ma'am, thank you. All right. Are you Mr. Peters? All right, come on up. 2021 MM7370. Mr. Peters, you were arrested for trespassing in an occupied structure or conveyance. I do find probable cause, and you do qualify for representation by the Public Defender's Office, and you are entitled to be represented by the Public Defender. Would you like for me to appoint them?
Yes, sir.
All right, so I'm going to appoint the Public Defender to represent you. You do not qualify for pretrial release. However, based on concerns that I have after reading the affidavit, I am going to grant release on ROR. I do have some competency concerns based on what I read. So I'm going to grant release on your own recognizance, and you are going to be ordered, condition of that release is that you may not return to the location of the alleged offense, okay? So you cannot go back to the Walmart at 10,500 West Colonial. Another condition of your release is you must maintain contact with your public defender, okay?
Okay, I have a question.
What's that? Don't talk about your case, but what's your question?
Will I have to come back to court?
You'll have to come back to court possibly at some point, but you'll need to stay in touch with the public defender, okay? So that they can keep you abreast of what's going on in your case, okay? All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Matthew Shepard? Hi, Mr. Shepard. Sir, you are entitled to be represented by a lawyer, and you do qualify for representation by the Public Defender's Office. Would you like for me to appoint that office to represent you? I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. I will appoint the Office of the Public Defender to represent you. Sir, you are arrested for petty theft. There is probable cause. Your bond is $250, and the conditions of the bond are not to return to the neighborhood Walmart at 2715 South Orange Avenue, and you may not have any contact with employees of that location, okay? And I've appointed the public defender, so you stay in touch with that office about your case, okay?
Okay.
Thank you, sir. That was 2021 MM 7697. All right, this is case number 2021 MM 7704, Renee Smith.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Morning, Ms. Smith, or good afternoon, Ms. Smith. For some reason, I keep saying morning. All right. Ms. Smith, you were arrested for possession of drug paraphernalia and possession of prescription drug without a prescription. I have reviewed the affidavit of arrest, and there is probable cause. You are entitled to be represented by a lawyer, and you qualify for representation by the Public Defender's Office. Would you like for me to appoint that office to represent you?
Your Honor, can I be heard as Esteban?
I'm sorry?
Can I be heard as Esteban in this case?
Well, she qualifies for PTR.
I was gonna ask for a straight ROR. This is a low-level drug offense. She has no criminal history, only one arrest, and she's 38 years old.
All right. Ms. Smith, do you have a means of staying in touch with your lawyer? Okay, you're nodding your head.
Oh, yes, sir.
Okay, and do you wish for me to appoint the Public Defender's Office to represent you?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you, ma'am. All right, based on Mr. Thompson's arguments, and since you do qualify for pretrial release, I will grant ROR. Subject to the condition, Ms. Smith, that you maintain contact with your public defender, okay? If there are future court hearings and if the public defender announces to the court that they've had no contact or that they have no information, that could lead to your arrest again, okay? So be sure to keep in touch with your lawyer.
Oh, well.
Okay. Anything else, Mr. Thompson?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. All right, and this is Mr. Wilson? No? DeBray Wilson. The booking number was 210-253-90. DeBray, uh-huh. Yes. Thank you. And I believe the next one I have is not this gentleman either. Let me look. What about Nathalie Zayas Diaz? Are you Mr. Rogers? Okay, come on up, Mr. Rogers. Mr. Rogers, you were arrested on a warrant out of Polk County.
Yes, sir.
For a violation of probation, and there is no bond. I'm going to provisionally appoint the Office of the Public Defender to represent you on any bond issues that may arise before you are transported to Polk County. Otherwise, you'll be transported to Polk County and you'll see a judge there, okay?
You know how long that would be?
I don't, sir. It should be pretty quick because they are transporting people now, but I don't know.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. And then, all right, is this Mr. Marakovic? He refused again? Okay,
Defensive waive of appearance.
all right. Mr. Marakovic was arrested on out-of-county warrant from Seminole County, and there is zero bond. I will provisionally appoint the Office of the Public Defender to represent him on any bond issues that may arise. And then Ryan Sterrett. Okay, Mr. Sterrett, come on up. Good afternoon, sir. State, it looks like that the affidavit wasn't updated.
Yes, Your Honor, it was.
It was?
It was updated. I do have copy for the court and for defense attorney. May I approach?
You may.
Your Honor, may I approach?
You may. Come on up. Mr. Sterrett, you were arrested for grand theft of a motor vehicle. Let's see. All right, Mr. Thompson, do you wish to make any probable cause challenges?
Your Honor, I believe that the state will have a better case for trespassing to a conveyance. I believe there's only circumstantial evidence for a grand theft auto. More speculation than fact, Your Honor. I would ask the court to find probable cause for trespassing to a conveyance.
State?
Your Honor, state does not object to a trespass charge.
All right, so I will find probable cause. I still have concerns about the grand theft, but I do find probable cause for arrest for trespass and a conveyance. Mr. Sterrett, you're entitled to be represented by a lawyer. I don't see an application, so I'm going to provisionally appoint the Public Defender's Office to represent you. If you wish to be represented by that office, you'll need to complete a financial affidavit so that we can determine whether you qualify. Your bond is going to be set at $1,000, and the conditions of the bond are that you may not have any contact with the alleged victim. All right, I think that's good enough. No contact with the alleged victim, and the public defender is again provisionally appointed. Okay, thank you, sir. And then do we have Mr. Jenkins? Come on up, Mr. Jenkins. How are you doing? Mr. Jenkins, you were arrested, sir, on a warrant for violation of probation. And no bond is established in your case. You do qualify for representation by the Public Defender's Office, and you are entitled to representation by that office. Would you like for me to appoint the Public Defender to assist you or represent you in this case?
Yes, sir.
All All right, so I will appoint the Office of the Public Defender to represent you in the violation of probation proceedings. It looks like, sir, you may qualify as a violent felony offender of special concern, which means the court has no authority to set a bond, so that's probably why no bond is set in the case, okay? All right, thank you, sir. And then is this Mr. Brown? Are you Mr. Brown?
Yes, sir.
All right, Mr. Brown, sir, you were arrested for violation of a municipal ordinance, open container alcoholic beverage. There is probable cause and your bond is $250. If you wish to enter a plea after talking to your lawyer, I'll be glad to address that today.
Yes, Your Honor, my client would like to, enter a plea of no contest.
Okay. They're going to get you a form, Mr. Brown. And while they're doing that, raise your right hand to be sworn. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. For the record, while they're getting everything for you, what's your name and your birthday?
Kenneth Adrian Brown, 3/18/65.
And are you under the influence of any prescription medications, other drugs or narcotics or alcohol today?
No, sir.
And do you suffer from any mental illness or emotional disturbance?
No, sir.
All right. Mr. Thompson's going to help you there with the form. Do you read and understand English, Mr. Brown?
Sir.
How far have you gone in school?
9th grade.
Okay. Have you entered a plea before?
No, sir.
You've never done a plea before? Okay. Okay, do you see that form in front of you there?
Yes, sir.
Okay, go ahead and read through it real quick and ask Mr. Thompson any questions you want to ask him about that form.
Did you see this form already in the back?
No, sir.
All right, go ahead and read it. Got any questions? No. Ready, Your Honor.
All right. Mr. Brown, do you have any questions?
No, sir.
All right. Do you understand that you have a right to be represented by a lawyer and a right to a jury trial and the right to confront your accusers and cross-examine your accusers and to testify on your own behalf? Do you understand you have all those rights?
Yes, sir.
And you would have some appeal rights too, and you're giving all of those rights up by entering this plea. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
Are you on probation in any other case at this time?
No, sir.
Are you thinking clearly today about what you're doing?
Yes, sir.
All right, and do you understand that if you're not a U.S. citizen, this plea will result in your deportation?
Yes, sir.
All right, and to the charge of open container alcoholic beverage, a misdemeanor under the city ordinance. I say a misdemeanor. Anyway, a city ordinance violation. How do you wish to plea?
No contest, Your Honor.
All right. You wish to adopt the no contest plea, Mr. Brown?
Yes, sir.
All right, and has anyone forced, threatened, or coerced you to make you do that?
No, sir.
And are you doing that freely and voluntarily because you believe it's in your best interest to do so?
Yes, sir.
All right, I'm going to accept your plea. I find you're competent, coherent, and alert. And you freely, voluntarily, and intelligently waived your rights, and you've entered the plea knowingly, understanding the charge and the consequences of the plea, okay? I'm going to, is there anything you would like to say about your sentence, sir?
No, sir.
Okay, I'm going to find you guilty of the open container charge. I'm going to sentence you to 2 days in the Orange County Jail and give you credit for the 2 days that you've served.
Yes.
And your court costs are going to be $223. And there's a $50 cost of prosecution, and I'm going to reduce that to civil judgment. All right, you have the right to appeal. Any notice of appeal has to be filed within 30 days of today's date, and the court would appoint a lawyer to represent you if you cannot afford one, okay?
Yes.
All right, anything further, Mr. Thompson?
No, Your Honor.
State, anything further?
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Brown. Take care, sir.
Thank you.
I did. Well, I said I find him guilty. I didn't use the word adjudicate that time. All right, that concludes our docket today. Thank you all.
Thank you, Your Honor.
We'll be adjourned.